in normal life?
That's a really good question. It's one that I think almost all of the consumer electronic companies are trying to answer right now. Samsung and LG and Google and Apple and everyone is all asking the same question. Because I think if we look back over the past 20, 30 years or so, we've seen this evolution of form factors of computers from these mainframe terminal kind of command line computers to the GUI and the desktop computer, and then eventually laptops and tablets, and now to these 4-inch glass slates or mobile devices that we all use today. And I think it's inevitable that that rapid evolution of 30 years won't just stop with this 4-inch iPhone today, and it will continue somewhere else. And so the belief that we have, and that I think most companies now have in the wearable technologies area, is that we will transition from discrete devices that you go and you have with you or you go up and use to something that you have with you all the time, and that might even be wearable in some form. And the battle right now that's happening is whether that device will be on your wrist, like the Galaxy Gear, or whether it will be something on your face like Google Glass, or something that someone hasn't thought of yet. But I think that this evolution will continue, and we'll see more and more integration of different technologies that are out there now, from smart textiles and fabrics to computing or smartphone-like functionality, combined with new interfaces like Mayo, and all sorts of evolutions like that, eventually into some integrated wearable devices that really become almost an extension of you as a human.
Yeah, very good point. So Mayo will be positioned as a really crucial device on the future, right?
So we look at Mayo as the interface to this next generation of computers, to wearable tech. And Mayo on its own has lots of interesting applications with other devices now, but ultimately looking forward to the future, I think the interesting question is how will that interface enable completely new form factors and new types of devices? And I think that's what's really exciting to think about as well.
Thank you. What about your Daniel? Yeah, yes.
Well, I think wearable computing is inevitable. It will happen sooner or later. And a lot of, just like Stephen mentioned, a lot of major companies out there are trying to solve the way that people wear these devices comfortably and without overthinking. A lot of technologies that we are introducing today, Foundry Lab and China and Oculus itself, I think they're all interim technology that they're trying to solve the same problems. But just like how the smartphone nowadays have changed the way that we interact with people and the way we spend our content has been significantly changed. I think these devices that will be available, globally and throughout the world.
What about Linda?
I agree with Dylan. Wearable technology is inevitable. It's very interesting how in less than 10 years this has grown so much, and this industry has evolved from wristbands to Google Glass. A couple of weeks ago I saw this girl having wearable technology as makeup, so she controlled with eyelashes a drone. So those kind of factors are very interesting, how from going of having a cell phone that you carry to be completely embedded into smart fabrics, your second skin that is clothing, or even integrated into the body. So it's something that will boom, very interesting in all sectors, not just like sports or health. It would be a great evolution for most industries and how they work.
It's very good point. So what I'm interested to know is that the fascinating technology is good, but how these startups who change the world can sustain and survive? How do they make money? So what would be the business model of yours, and how you want to sustain, how you want to make this great technology into like a money? So yeah, very practical.
Yeah, good question as well. So there's many different models for how that can work. Some companies now, many companies do kind of Kickstarter campaigns, which is crowdfunding, where they go out and take orders up front and take money to actually fund development of their products. We didn't quite take that route. We did do pre-orders. We didn't charge any customers yet, and so we didn't raise any money from those pre-order customers. We haven't taken any payments yet. We went the more traditional route of we kind of self-funded the first prototypes just ourselves. We were out of school, like credit card debt, and just living in cheap student housing and
Very
things like
good.
that. Until we got to the point where we had a good enough prototype, we could go to some local investors and raise a small amount of money.
In Canada, right?
Yeah, in Canada, in Toronto and Waterloo, where we're from. And then later on, we went to American venture capital investors and raised a larger round, which has funded development and the start of production and so on.
What's the question is, who was your first investor in Silicon Valley? Who showed interest?
So our first investor actually wasn't in Silicon Valley. It was actually a Canadian angel investor named Daniel DeBow.
Very good.
Was one of them. And then in Silicon Valley, three firms. One's Formation 8, who's also an investor in Oculus, Intel Capital, and then Spark Capital is actually Boston.
Okay, very good. What about you? What do you think about questions that I asked?
Well, as a startup, we were fortunate that we started in the United States. I know many people here have been struggling to get the right funding for your project, and I, as a Korean, I feel bad about it because the venture capital here is not as risk-taking as the American. And we also started from the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
We raised $2.4 million, and we also had our own team.
How long does it take to raise?
Actually, it took only 1 month.
Wow.
We started on August 1st, 2012, and the campaign was closed on August 30th, and we were able to raise $2.4 million from all over the world. And we are actually making our revenue by selling our development kit. But in the future, we've already built something called the Share platform. You can upload your application on the website, and then you can share with the rest of the people who are developing content for Oculus Rift. In the future, that's going to become your app store. So, just like how Apple use their app store to promote their hardware device, you will be able to actually upload your content and be able to share your content with the rest of the game developers.
Same as similar as an app store, right?
That's correct.
And what do you see some revenue, like a percentage of the shares?
It's not set in stone yet, but I think we'll be following the same conventional revenue share platforms, just like Google Play and Apple.
Very good. And what about the Linda? You also raised money from the Kickstarter, right?
Yes, as a startup and as an entrepreneur, funding is one of the hardest things ever. Like, it's always in the top of mind. But I would like to go back to crowdfunding. I think it's a great opportunity and a great vehicle and new way of economy that's growing among startups. Because, for example, Kickstarter gives you the opportunity to have a proof of concept, in which most cases, and I can say that in my experience, people didn't believe in my product, and you put it out to a market and you test it. It's a way to not spending money and not knowing what's going to happen next. It gives you the opportunity to see if people are interested in your product or not, and to take pre-orders, and in a way to position yourself. I mean, I love an example of Kickstarter being Oculus, actually. And also, well, investors, but also investors need to see that people are buying the product. So it's to have a balance of both, I think. And that's what we're
So you
focused
raised
on.
fund, or you raised money from the Kickstarter only, right?
Yes, and we're also looking into investors, but also going a little bit traditionally. Since we're a fashion brand, in the end, we have retailers and our online store.
So you're going to launch in Japan, you told me about it.
Yes,
Very good.
we're launching in Japan by January.
Very good. And what about Korea? You plan to launch in
Yes,
Korea?
definitely.
If you have a partner, right?
Yeah.
Again, the other question is that this is a smart content conference, so how the content providers can prepare for this revolutionary change in this field. Yeah.
So yeah, we've actually got a couple examples here of companies where a huge amount of the innovation is actually creating new opportunities for content providers. And so for both Oculus, I'm sure, and ourselves, the importance of applications and content and games and other things that use our technology, can't be understated. And so we're also working on something similar in a sense to whether it's an app store or directory or whatever we kind of name it in the end to share as Oculus has done. And we've seen the same with all kinds of new platforms. And so I think content is really being democratized in a way, in that you no longer have to be a huge studio with your own distribution channels or retail channels to get content out there. Now you can self-distribute or go through app stores of software companies very easily and at a low cost directly, and reach huge audiences across the world. I mean, we have customers now who have pre-ordered the Mayo device in almost 150 countries across the world, all wanting a very diverse array of applications and content to use with the device technology. So now there's people across the world waiting for content developers, and it could be anyone from an individual to a big company or a studio to develop that.
I would like to give an example. I think this is a good example for the Korean audience. There's a game called the Heavy Mac that was first made by the Korean developer. I think it's one or two developers who published their game on Apple App Store and have experienced tremendous amount of success. Just like Steven said, there's other ways that you can reach out to your potential customers. You don't have to be now thinking about your own local market. Another thing is you have to think out of the box. I know a lot of the startup here, some mobile game developers, they try to reproduce the same experience that the others have created, and some have been more successful than the others. But I see a lot of stuff that are being mimicked or copied. But a lot of people here should think the potential of what these wearable technologies can go in the future. Making early investment. This is a blue ocean market. Nobody has ventured before, and three of us here are trying to open the gate. And if you can join that same idea and try to be partner with us, we'll give you another window of opportunities that will get you out there internationally and globally. So I would say, we just think out of the box.
Very good point. What about this, Linda?
And I would also like to add that we're living right now in an era where we're completely connected to all of our devices, and we're looking to be even more connected. Like, I don't know if some of you, if internet fails, you just start to freak out and run everywhere just to find the connection again. So, for example, in our case, something that we did, because also we think that execution is everything, and that goes also focused to content, is that we are based a lot in open source. So, for example, when we sell our products, the code